Today is my birthday, and this video is not just a celebration, it is a testimony, a reflection of how far God has brought me and how I am learning more than ever to choose joy intentionally. Because for years, I didn't celebrate this day the way I wanted to, not because I didn't care, but because life didn't feel perfect enough to be celebrated. The year before last, which is the year 2024, I was serving Nigeria NYSC, and that season, it came with its own transition, intensity, and emotional pressure. My place of primary assignment was in a remote state where I couldn't really express myself the way I wanted to on my birthday that year. So that year passed quietly, no real celebration, no real moment of pause, just moment of survival, moment of adjustment. Then came 2025, and again, I still did not celebrate my birthday, not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't in a good emotional space. Financially, things were unstable. Emotionally, I was overwhelmed. And mentally, I was tired. And honestly, I didn't feel worthy enough to celebrate anything. I kept telling myself, you don't have a job, you're not happy, things are not going as planned. Maybe another time, maybe next year, some other time. I kept postponing and postponing. But this year, something shifted in me. I realized something very important, and it just came to my mind on a random day that if I keep postponing my happiness simply because things are not going as planned, or if I keep waiting for life to be perfect before I celebrate myself, I may never truly live, because happiness is not something I postpone. Happiness is something you're intentional about. Happiness is something you choose on a daily basis. In this season of my life, I am learning that I am worthy of beautiful moments, not only when life is perfect or only when things are going as planned. Even in the middle of becoming, even in the process of things working out, I have learned to be content with everything that is in my life. And this aligns with the scripture where Apostle Paul says that in every season he has learned to be content, not because life is perfect, but because joy is intentional, making conscious effort to be happy no matter the season, no matter the condition, no matter the weather. Now, I want to talk about something that happened in 2022. When I graduated from university, I met someone who called himself a man of God. At that time, I was still in my fresh graduate phase, trying to understand life, direction, and what next. This man of God, he made declarations over my life, and most of the things he said concerning me were negative. He said words like he sees me struggling, and that he sees me carrying my certificates from one office to the other and everyone is refusing to hire me, and that I'm going to struggle on the long run until a man is going to come into my life, and this man is my husband, and that I cannot achieve anything with my certificates because God has destined only this man to save me. This man of God gave so many narratives that didn't sit right with my spirit. Deep down, I knew something was wrong because all of these words he said were not what God promised me. I knew they did not align with the promises God has spoken concerning my life. At one point, he gave instructions that felt extreme, like burning things, photocopying documents, burning them and putting the ashes in a container, then bring to him. And I remember clearly, I told my mom I wasn't going to do it, and my mom supported me. She said, if you're not comfortable and you believe God has spoken otherwise, then don't do it. I'm not going to lie. Those words strengthened me. Years later, when life started to get difficult, that memory tried to resurface in my mind, especially during job search, especially during rejection season. And fear would whisper, what if what the man of God said is coming true? But every time that thought came, I made a decision. I would speak against it. I would say, that is not my story. That is not what God has spoken about me, because I know the voice of God does not produce fear. And I know that the scripture says, beloved, do not believe every spirit, test the spirit. So I held on to discernment. And I want to clearly say this, that I'm going to share a full detailed video of that prophetic experience in another video, because there are deep lessons I learned from it about discernment, manipulation, fear, and spiritual clarity. But what I want to say now is it almost influenced my mindset, but it did not define my life. After NYSC POP towards the end of 2024, I entered a very intense job search season. I was applying, I was getting rejected, I was waiting, trying again, and still not seeing any immediate result. But at the same time, God was still working in my life because in that same period, I got connected to opportunities I didn't even expect. And I ended up working three different jobs, one on-site job and two remote roles. And when I look at it now, it is clear to me that God was rewriting my story in real time. And what I feared would not happen happened anyway. And what I thought would take 2 to 3 years to happen, God did it in a single season. Even when pay was low, I still survived, I still grew, I was still happy, and I'm still here. That is great. Another thing I am grateful for is how God started connecting the dots of my life, even the things I didn't notice. A friend recently pointed out to me how many flyers I have appeared on since 2024. I was shocked. I once prayed that my voice would become global in its own way, but because I was so focused on what is not happening, I didn't see what was already happening. And when this friend pointed this out to me, it made me realize that if God can do these small ones, the big ones are not even the problem. Things I once thought were impossible, I am already doing them now, and I can already see the shape of the future God is building for me, even if it's still unfolding. It is beautiful in my sight. So today, I am not just celebrating a birthday, I am celebrating growth, survivor, grace, and clarity. Cheers to me for how far I have come, and all thanks to God for carrying me through every season. I cannot wait to share next year's testimony because I know this story is still unfolding. If you watched this, I hope it reminded you that your story is still unfolding too. Thank you for being here and stay well.